Moving right along, the next one is here's US 30. Here's Dyer Town Hall. Here's Brian, help me out. This is sorry, Hart Street. Thank you. So we're just entering into town of Dyer, US 30, the north side. So this is where we did the previous project, the two-stage ditch from the hospital up to about where the town hall, pedestrian bridge is crossing from town hall to the event center. So this is looking at the CVS property right on the west side of Hart Street. We looked at trying to extend this along the east side, just south of Calumet Street, this property, but the property owner was not willing to work with the town at this point, didn't want to take it to where it would have to be condemned or anything else. We decided, let's just see if we can work with CVS. CVS has said, yes, we're willing to work with you. Give us details and we will look at proceeding. So there's extra area there. This is providing a 1.5 acre feet of storage and again, addressing the tow stability. So CVS has a detention pond that's shown right here that outlets to the ditch. We're talking about taking the area that's not being used on the CVS property and expanding the ditch. We'll leave the detention pond here, but we'll be excavating this area for the entire length, all of this area here for the entire length from here to Fagan Street. So this shows that the reduction is 0.3 feet of water surface elevation for the 100-year at Hart Street, and same thing on the downstream side, and then ties into our the other two-stage ditch project.
Does that can you go back to that one, Dan? Does it make more sense to have that shaded area than for the area that's just south of 30? I don't know if that's a structure or just trees.
So this area here is part of the town hall.
Oh, that's a building?
Yeah, the building's here, right? But there's a gazebo here, right here, and a couple of trees with a walking path along it. There was more potential for making it longer here and wider than just doing this small stretch here.
So I mean, you're looking to store it, downstream. I was just thinking, before you hit the structure of US 30 and that bridge, because I'm sure, not having seen it, there's pillars in the middle of the dang ditch there. So,
right.
I mean, does it make any more to work on the south end of 30 to try to open that up or to provide more storage at that end, just as an idea?
Yeah. So recall that just upstream of this location that you're looking at, just south of here, is where we did the two-stage ditch project where we provided 14.5 acre feet of storage and dropped the elevation by about a foot. So we have done significant storage down there already, which you guys helped out with. And we can certainly look at expanding it here if the town is willing to do that, which they have been so far. We can look at expanding that, but we're more concerned about the CVS. Will they be willing to work with the town? And they are.
Thank you.
And so the estimate for doing the engineering for this is about 120,000. We're asking about 59,650 from the board for cost share for this project. Similarly, we would do this engineering in the fall, so it could be constructed next year.
So, Mr. Repay, I see that the drainage board is involved with the town of Dyer as far as the match. And that's only usually something that happens when it's a regulated drain. Is that true?
Well, I would defer to Thomas on that one.
That's correct. They don't contribute when it's not a regulated drain.
So remember, one of the big picture things that we're doing as we're doing all these works along these segments, let's call it, is to set these things up for them to be designated as regulated drains. Is that something that's in your scope?
So this is a regulated drain right now.
So this segment is, is the other segment for the first phase, is that a
yes.
regulated drain too?
Hart Street or Hart Ditch is regulated up to Main Street. To Main Street.
So it's all the way to Main Street?
Yes.
So is the whole segment in Dyer regulated drain?
Yes,
And it stops at Main Street?
correct.
Thank you. So even then, so that's more on us, Dan, having to do with, as we do the work on Hart Ditch from Main Street north, right? Is
Right.
to, because the drainage board is involved in all of that work as well. But I'm sure there's a litany of bureaucratic paperwork that needs to happen to make it a regulated drain. But let's not lose sight that that's one of the things that needs to happen to have some consistency throughout the watershed.
I agree, and that was the point, was when we did the stabilization for Hart's Ditch, is that eventually they would take it over to maintain it once we did the initial heavy lift.
Correct. And just, it's been going on for a long time. I just don't want to lose that as the end game. I want the piece of paper.
Another one?
Exactly.
We just got,
And a check too, just like the last one.
I'm gonna get a check from the county.
All right, I'm sorry, Mr. Burke. Is there more?
That's it.
All right, gentlemen, any questions for Mr. Burke on this segment? What's the ask?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Not specifically about this particular segment, Mr. Burke, but do you have like a 3-year outlook or longer, or how many more projects the town of Dyer needs to do with water between, I think you started at the hospital around 30, and obviously Main Street is the end. Any ideas or thoughts?
So we, in working with the town over the last 18 years or so, there are a number of projects the town has lined up to do it as funding is available. For example, I mentioned that the pump station at Northgate. We also have concept plans for detention in Northgate when certain things fall in line. But there are a number of stormwater projects that the town has identified, and we've got conceptual studies done for the town as part of a master plan. And it certainly goes out more than 5 years before the funding will be available for all these. But there are quite a few projects.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions for Mr. Burke on this segment?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
on your cross section, the
Yes.
proposed grade from the bench up to, I guess you'd call it the cap, seems like a very severe slope. How is that reinforced? And then the number on the top of that, let's call it the cap again, is that 10.25 feet or inches?
It's 10 feet. It's 10 feet. This is showing 2-to-1 side slope. It's what we did in the first phase of the 2-stage ditch south there, and we have showing no problems with any sloughing or any stabilization along there for the entire stretch where we did 2-to-1.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anything else?
I got another one. I had a question about that too. Thanks, Ron. If you'll indulge. So the 10 feet width at the top, I mean, have you guys done any utility studies to make sure? Because that seems wide, but that could be pretty tight. Is there anything in that like top section, the triangle or the trapezoid up there that you know about
No,
or need
yeah,
to be concerned about?
that's a very good question. We did look. All utilities are west of the detention pond. There's nothing east of the detention pond between the detention pond and the Hart Ditch. The detention pond itself outlets to the north to that yellow line on Fagan Street, the storm sewer that outlets the ditch. So it comes out here and then comes out to the ditch here. So there are no utilities from everything we've seen. We haven't done a locate yet, but there's nothing that we've seen that are any utilities there.
Roger. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, but how's the water gonna get there? I mean, it has to get there if it's gonna have a lot of volume that goes into that yellow area, wouldn't it start putting pressure on call it the levee wall of the detention pond? Or is that what the engineering's gonna do? Cause I didn't go to Purdue.
We all know that.
Some people don't know that. But I just know the water is gonna rush to its lowest point, and if you dig it out, it's gonna rush into their big time, is that gonna impact that detention pond? It's just a question, I just,
I don't expect it to affect the detention pond at all. There's plenty of width, and we'll have the compaction requirements that are needed to maintain that wall, so it does not affect the detention pond.
interesting, thank you. All right, thank you, Mr. Burke.
You're welcome.